Hello and welcome to the Beauty Industry Podcast, your online support community for the professional beauty industry. I am your host, founding director of Beauty Industry, Tamara Shaw. Here we are closing the competitive gap and speaking your language. This is a platform created and dedicated to the professional beauty industry, valuing community over competition. We serve to help connect you with inspiration from industry experts, expand your knowledge through educational pieces, and bring you the latest in product and technology innovation. This is Beauty Industry. Today I am speaking with the lovely Sarah Garner from Digital Bloom, whose aim is to help make beautiful brands better. Sarah and her team specialise in marketing and branding for the hair, beauty and fashion industry and have some seriously kick-ass social graphics, strategy sessions and promotions around event planning to align your brand, style and budget. On today's episode, Sarah shares with us why traction is important, how to make the most out of your marketing and how to cut through the noise that is social media and make your brand stand out. From Digital Bloom, today we welcome Sarah Garner.
Thank you so much for having me, Tamara. I'm really super stoked to be chatting all things branding with you.
Likewise. Sarah, we start the podcast in the same way each week by asking our guests where and how they entered into the beauty industry. However, a qualified beauty therapist you are not, but you still ended up being here in a marketing and a branding capacity. How and why did you enter into the beauty industry, if you want to explain that for us?
Oh, where do I start? I guess, most people often ask me, if I was originally a hairdresser or a beauty therapist, and I guess the short answer is no. My background is purely graphic design, branding and marketing, and I love what I do. I really do. I wanted to find my group of people, really inspire them and help the entrepreneurs in these industries completely slay their digital game, and that goes so much, further beyond the visuals. I started working with small business in any industry, and whilst I have a really big passion for small business and helping entrepreneurs in that growth phase, there was good and bad moments, as everyone has on their journey. And I started making connections with, more and more often with people in the hair and beauty industries. And the newest addition, I guess, in the last 12 months to the Bloom clan is that fashion industry. So I guess, it's these very industries that I've really found my people. I found them to be really creative and visual and bloody hard workers. But I find also that amongst these three industries, they're completely underrated. But not just that, as I was working along in the last couple of years, it's an often occurrence that I'm finding along, especially the hair and beauty industry, where I'd constantly hear about all these same cookie cutter strategies, when it comes to marketing and the age old one size fits all approach with the branding. And it just really grinds my gears. Like, that's one of my biggest pet peeves. And, I always have said, what's the role of an entrepreneur in these industries and these industries alone is to make people feel and look good. So who's helping these entrepreneurs? They're amazing, but who's helping them to look good on the business and brand front? And that's not just on the outside, but helping them, and their brand look really beautiful on the inside too, by digging deep into what they stand for and what their values are, and align that with their goals, not just only in their businesses, but in their life as well, to help them create, this life that they really want to live and have their business too. So, I say to a lot of people, you wouldn't really dare, treat someone's skin or their hair, your door. Oh, we got cut off there.
Sorry. I don't know what happened.
That's okay. That was me. I think I'll just put my phone on
Do not disturb.
Do not disturb. If I put it on flight mode, that should be okay.
As long as you still got internet. Nope.
No, that didn't work.
There you are.
Okay, I'm just going to have to put on do not disturb. Sorry about this. I thought I'd done it.
No, that's all right. That's okay. Do you have an iPhone?
Yes, I just put it on night mode.
Yeah, perfect.
Sorry.
No, that's all good.
At least it paused.
That was perfect. So basically, it just cut out as you were saying. So if you were treating someone's skin or treating someone's hair, you wouldn't do the cookie cutter approach. So if you want to go from there.
Are you there?
Oh, there you are again.
You've cut out. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
That's weird.
Are you on Do Not Disturb?
Yeah, it's got the little moon on there.
Ah, so strange. Are you on a Wi-Fi or normal connection?
Normal connection, because the Wi-Fi where I am is really bad.
Ah, how strange.
Mm.
That's right. We'll see.
How we go.
We'll see what we can
Sorry.
do. That's all right. No, don't be silly. So you just cut out. You were kind of just about to say you wouldn't treat someone's skin or hair with a cookie cutter approach.
Oh yes. Okay. Good.
So if you want to go from kind of that, and then I'll cinch it.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. So you wouldn't dare treat anyone's skin or hair the same. For every client that walks through your salon's doors, you definitely wouldn't, because every single person on this planet is completely different. And the same notion that you should be taking with your brand. So for me, my business and what I get to do every day is really a passion project for me. And I really do believe I've hit the jackpot with what I'm doing, because it never, ever feels like work. And I get to help these amazing people in these industries with bespoke strategies and branding that aligns with their goals. And honestly, just seeing them thrive and achieving that is really what makes my role in the industry so worthwhile. And I just love it.
I think when you have that job where it doesn't feel like a job, it just feels like the most fun life ever. That's really when the magic happens. And I want to talk about your job and I guess your business, Digital Bloom. Can you take us back to kind of how that started and what Digital Bloom is for those who don't know?
Yeah, sure. So Digital Bloom actually, funnily enough, started in a very a life-altering way, to say. I was playing in a netball grand final, and I'd been dreaming, all of my adult life to work for myself and help entrepreneurs just grow and achieve a life of their dreams. I'm a dreamer, and I'm always stuck in the clouds. That particular game, I actually, first injury I've ever had, I took a tumble and snapped my ACL clean off and, fractured bones and did a number on my meniscus. Anyway, it ended up in a good 12 months of rehab. And it was at that time that the job I was currently in, I saw the possibilities of working from home. And I really could vision, myself combining my travel with my business. And then from there, I thought, well, I'm trying to do this as an entrepreneur. I wonder who else out there, not necessarily the travel, but taking that travel and aligning it with whatever they're wanting to do with their life. How can we combine the two? So that's where the idea came from, my own sort of life experience in that respect. And then Digital Bloom was born, basically out of making people feel beautiful and really good about their brand. Making beautiful brands even better is our mission statement. And that's exactly how we do it, by what I touched on before with how I got into the industry was, alleviating that cookie cutter crap and really focusing in on the individual person and helping them build it from the ground up, aligning their brand values with what they value, and really solely solidifying their brand to be the best it can be. And we help them do that across predominantly digitally. Digital Bloom is where we're going, with the future being 2019. But print marketing is a very important part of that as well.
Perfect. And so you mentioned there the word brand, and I guess that's kind of spoken about a lot these days. Mm-hmm. What is the importance of building a brand if somebody isn't quite sure, if they don't know what a brand is? Like, how would you explain that?
Oh, gosh, your brand is everything. Like, it goes way, way beyond your logo alone. There's this common misconception across any industry at all that your brand is your logo, and we would need like another 10 podcast episodes for me to unravel on that. But, your brand and the foundations are vital to the success of your business. So, some people refer to their brand as like their personality, being the owner of the business or the founder of the brand as such. It's being unapologetically and authentically you, and staying 100% true to your brand and true to your values. And it's about practicing what you preach and nurturing your audience to the absolute max. So when you start building a house, they level the ground, and then they lay the concrete slab, they put up the frame and then the plaster. And I hope this is how they do it, because I've never built a house, but electrics and roof and so on. It's very much the same with your brand, that the stronger your foundations are, that being your values and your brand personality, tone of voice, what you strive for, what your mission is, teamed with knowing exactly who your ideal clients are right from the very start, forms those really strong foundations of your brand.
And I guess it really, when you have, you've touched base on there about having your values and your vision and your mission. So just for those who don't know, your values are a set of words or perhaps sentences or ideas that you have in your head that are, as you say, the word foundation, and it really helps you in the decision-making process. So for Beauté Industry, our values are connection, support, education, motivation, and conversation. So every single decision I come to, I'm like, oh, do they align with our brand values? Versus our vision is that to be a support community for the professional beauty industry. And our mission is how we're going to get to the vision. So our mission is by connecting as many beauty business owners with their teams and their teams with their clients. So just a quick little recap for those who don't know that, but it really does help you understand your business and understand your client too. It's not just pretty pictures that we put on social media, right?
Exactly right. It really does. Those values, I can't even stress enough how much those values really do. You hit the nail on the head. Like, they shape every decision in your business, from how you interact with clients on social media, from how you conduct yourself in business. Like, our guiding values are integrity, honesty, respect, going above and beyond, and treating everyone's business like it's our own. So they're our guiding values, and that's what we stand by, from visuals to right through to having a conversation to recording podcasts, everything.
Amazing. And so if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I don't have brand values, I'll put a link in the show notes rather, and we've actually created a big table of different words that you might like to choose for your values. So don't feel like it's too late. You can start somewhere, even if you are 10 years down the track. But other than that, Sarah, I want to ask you, where does one start? If I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I don't have a brand, I don't know what my mission is, how am I going to get there to my vision? Like, where do we start? Because that can seem pretty overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely. And look, just to make everyone feel better, like, probably 85 to 90% of the clients we work with don't even have the brand value. So it's actually quite a common thing.
That's quite hard.
Yeah, you would actually be surprised how many people don't have them. And part of our role goes, as I said, it goes so much beyond the visuals. It really starts with this sort of stuff. Where I would recommend everyone to start is, you are your brand, and you are so heavily, as an entrepreneur, injected into your business. So really, you need to think about, as a person, what are your values and what do you stand by? So for me, I'm very ethical, and integrity is probably my highest value, and respecting of other people. And those three are actually found in our values. So it's not necessarily your values as a person have to be your brand values. It's finding a fine balance with, okay, so what do you stand by, and how do you want to do business, and how do you want people to treat you? And generally you find a common denominator of your brand values and your personal values being very similar.
That's a really good point there. And then when it comes to hiring your team and letting brands and other businesses into your business, if you know you're stocking brands, for example, or taking on a new treatment menu, you can look at that brand's values and think, well, does it align with mine? Or, you know, when you're in an interview, you can ask that person, you know, what are your values, or what, you know, what stands out for you? And if they're, you know, not quite aligning with yours, well, then maybe that's not the best partnership. And it really does help you kind of decipher what pathway you're going to go down in terms of that alignment.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because recently, in the last couple of months, I found this actually a couple of times that happened, is on social media. There was a brand, I didn't work with them personally, but I know of someone that did, and their values and what they preach to the world are one thing, and what they were doing off of social media was another thing. So it's really interesting when we talk about brand values. You really have to remain authentic and 100% completely transparent, because people find when that happens, people they read between the lines, and they see what you're doing online, and then they also see what you're doing offline, and they go, there's actually a mismatch here. That confuses people, and it's not an authentic brand.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that is why I never say that my values is organic, because I'm having espresso martinis on Saturday night. So that would conflict.
Exactly.
And you're talking about branding there, that kind of, it's quite an expansive word, because you've got the kind of social, digital media side, you've got advertising, marketing, values, like there's so much into branding. And I want to kind of talk a little bit about advertising, because that's the first thing that a lot of beauty business owners ask me, you know, Tamara, I want more clients, I'm just going to go do advertising. I guess I want to ask your opinion. Should we still be creating print collateral, or are we putting all of our money into social media?
The short answer is print marketing is not dead, in my opinion, and my experience. But the long answer is it really boils down to the individual brand and where exactly your ideal audience hang out. So, for example, if you had a regional spa and you know that print marketing, like the good old-fashioned newspaper ads or letterbox drops, really works for you, and it brings those new clients in, and it also not only brings new clients in, it will bring in potentially clients that we would call lost, like clients that haven't come in over, you know, the last 12 weeks, or clients that are currently your clients as well. They're coming in from all this sort of marketing. You know, if that's working for you, keep doing it. That's as plain and simple as I can put it. But if you find that you're in the heart of a metro area like Melbourne City, for example, and letterbox drops are far and few between, and they haven't worked for you in 20 years, don't do it. You know, we advise a lot of our clients to cover off on as many media touch points as possible that have been tried and tested for their brand and market. So that's the keywords there, tried and tested for their brand. If they haven't been tried and tested, then my advice is to get out there and start testing for your specific brand and find out exactly what works for you and keep doing more of it. So for Digital Bloom, Instagram is one of our biggest, platforms where we get a lot of inquiries. Facebook is our second, but we find Facebook ads, when we run them, Instagram performs better, and Facebook Messenger performs better. So it's really about trying something and testing it and measuring it, and then doing more of that.
And really finding out where your avatar or your perfect client is hanging out. You know, if they are young and savvy, then they're most likely going to be spending all of their time on Facebook and Instagram. Or if they're, you know, sitting between the mid 25s to 35s, maybe they'll be on LinkedIn or Pinterest, or, you know, even a little bit more on a PC desktop. Whereas if they're a little bit older, perhaps they are still reading magazines or whatever they may be doing. So it's difficult to kind of blanket, okay, I'm just going to put all my eggs into this social media basket, because maybe all of your clients aren't in that social media bracket. But it's quite interesting that you say there, you know, print marketing is not dead, because I actually find that as soon as I've met somebody who I want to personally connect with, I'll actually send them a beautiful thank you note, you know, so thank you so much for being on the podcast, or thanks so much for spending that weekend at our event. And that's just the best form of traction for us, because it is offline, it is resonating with our values of connection and support just in a really unique way, other than being online. Whereas if we are advertising an event, for example, then I'm going to purely be online because I'm not going to go around just letterbox dropping, you know, random people. So it's 100% correct what you're saying there. And I want to touch base on social media a little bit more, because I know this is where the most confusion lies, you know, and people often say, well, how much should I be spending? How much time should I be doing? If I want to grow my number of followers, you know, and sometimes I say, look, you have to keep plugging away to get traction. And this word of traction is always kind of flown around, but sometimes we can't see that it might convert to sales or convert to a new client. So in the terms of, you know, a branding and graphic expert as you are, what is traction, and how, or does it actually convert to getting bums on beds?
Oh, very good question. And it's something that a lot of people say, oh, I need more followers just to get, you know, clients in the door. And I say, well, how do you know if those followers are genuine? And they say, well, I don't, but the more that I have, the better, right? And that's another one we could spend millions of episodes on. But, you know, the truth is that your followers don't really kind of matter. What matters is the people that are looking and the people that are actually viewing your profile, because more often than not, people who come across your profile and don't do anything at all, you never know they're there in the first place. So if they don't comment or like or follow you, you don't know who's watching. The amount of people that come to me and they've said, I followed you on, you know, Instagram for ages, I'm so-and-so. And I think, oh my goodness, I've never seen you before, but they've been following me. Like, maybe give me a like to say, hey, I'm here, is astronomical. And traction really shouldn't be measured by followers, is one of my biggest pet peeves, is that all ties into a thing, I guess, in the social industry called vanity metrics. And vanity metrics really represents that. So it's the amount of likes that you have, or the comments on a post, or the amount of people following you. But it's exactly that. It's vanity metrics, because what you're not seeing is the people who have viewed your profile and didn't do anything. You're not seeing the people that your post got in front of and then picked up the phone and called you. So, you know, traction in my terms is really about the visibility you're getting when it comes to your brand and marketing, both online and in print. You know, print obviously is a bit harder to measure that traction, because we have to go off print sales or amount of leaflets distributed. But if we're focusing just on the online space here, it's far easier, like in 2019, to suss out the results of, you know, traction online.
Hey community, it's Tamara here, interrupting this episode to share with you our newest networking brunch event details. On October 27th, we are bringing Brisbane and the surrounding Queensland suburbs our beauty industry community for a morning of coffee, connection and conversation. Industry experts such as Jacine Greenwood of Rococo Botanicals, Linda Woodhead of Mocha Publishing and Jessica Brigginshaw of Brow Squad are your industry experts who are going to explore the ins and outs of the industry on our panel discussion. Tickets are available on the website from $59 and we would love to see you there. Now, back to the episode. Here's Sarah.
Traction will only convert to sales if you are clear on your client acquisition timeframes. So how long it takes for you to, you know, push free content in front of your clients from you know, we're talking social media here, from Facebook and Instagram, the time it takes for them to convert to a client. But you need a process and a strategy in place for them to convert. So the key word is time. It takes time and it takes work. It really does. Nurturing, back to what I said before, is, you know, making sure that you're 100% authentic and unapologetically you and true to your brand. That really involves nurturing your audience and giving them time and giving them free tips and tricks and commenting on their stuff and really getting involved with them. And I know people don't have time, but I would be spending most of my time commenting on in Facebook groups and on other people's profiles to be social, because that's what the platform's for. And only then do people get to know, like, and trust you. And conversion to sales, I suppose, is like that age-old marketing theory, that dating to marriage. So if you met someone and you went on a date with them, the first date, you wouldn't ask someone to marry you. It's kind of a little bit weird. So sales and marketing are the exact same thing, even though they're complete sales and marketing different sectors. You wouldn't just put something up on Instagram and expect the first person to land on it to buy from you straight away, because it's not going to work. They don't know you. They don't like you. They don't know what your brand's about. And they probably don't trust you because they've never had interaction with you. So I guess to sum that up, it's really putting in that groundwork and being social with people, like providing value and nurturing that online audience to the absolute max. That's when you start gaining the trust in your brand. And yes, your followers will increase, but you know that they're from your area and they're your ideal clients, as opposed to a database in Bangladesh or in London or the US, wherever you're not, basically. And once over time, you nurture them enough and really show them that you care, that's when you start seeing traction converting into the sales. So, it really takes time and love.
And the love and the nurturing it does take time. And I guess what you're saying there is to, how can I say this? Business owners always put, and I see on their social medias, this is a discount, here's a tip, this is the special today, this is our August promo, it's spring, come in and spend, here's a new product, come in and buy it. And I call that, it's like asking for something every time. And exactly as you've said there, it's like somebody meeting you on the first date and asking you to marry. And so say you go on 10 dates and every single time the same guy says, will you marry me? Will you marry me? Will you marry me? You've only been on 10 dates, on the 10th time, you're not just going to decide, oh, okay, he's been really persistent in asking me, so sure, let's get married. It's very similar in that we have to stop asking and asking and asking for the sale and asking for the client to come in and give them something instead. So you've mentioned there, a free tip or maybe a free ebook that you've created or something like that, which the client actually goes, oh, hang on, they're asking about me, they're really hearing me as a client, and now I know who they are as a business, and little things like that, which is what really traction is. And when we talk about engagement, it takes 2 minutes to post something, but when you start commenting on your followers' pictures or putting little emojis or writing to them in the DMs, that's kind of where that real traction and engagement comes from. And you might even pick up a more aligned crowd, because if I'm commenting on Digital Bloom stuff as beauty industry, maybe Digital Bloom's audience will see beauty industry and go, hang on, what's that? I'm going to go over there, and likewise. And that's what will happen with business owners' businesses as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so we're talking about kind of sales and social media and things like that. And getting people in. And I think one of the things we see lots lately is the promotions and the discounts and the sales and everything else. It can be done wrong, or I'll say incorrectly rather. And I'm sure you've seen it and I've seen it many times. Do you have any tips for our audience on how they can actually get the most out of their promotion or the most out of a discount and stop wasting so much money and time and energy and getting no one in the door after they've done all of this hard work?
Absolutely. Look, one of my biggest struggles, and it really breaks my heart amongst this industry, is that, people discount, or rather, I should say, entrepreneurs discount, and they think that that's a promo. But what they're not looking at is if the discount is worth their time, because it's not profitable. One thing we really stress to our clients is when you're putting together a promotion or a campaign, whatever the offer, it must be profitable. So before anything else, before you go ahead and get all your stuff printed and advertise anywhere, the bottom line really matters, because that's the reason why we're in business. Whatever you offer, it has to be profitable. So if it's not profitable, you're just going to lose money. And so you're working hard to lose money. And I don't think anyone wants that. So you need to really look at, what are the expenses, what are the costs of time associated with the service or the product or whatever it might be, and make sure that that's all covered. Your break even is covered well before you start a promo, because it's cool to get the people in the door, but it's retaining them is where the gold lies. So we can advertise for new clients for days, but if you can't retain them and keep rebooking them, then there's not really any point in doing the promotion anyway, because we want to get those new clients in, dating to marriage. So we want to get the new clients in, make the first sale, and then show them how amazing we are, which everyone is very capable of doing, rebooking them in, and then, treating them as a loyal returning client. So once you've figured out the offer or the promotion and making sure that that's definitely worth your while, you need to go back to looking at what works for your brand's marketing. So I would advise a time frame set for the promo, encompass as many digital and print media touch points as you can that work for your brand. And the key here is to keep it simple. So I don't want, anyone to confuse their audience with multiple designs and spend, in their outlay, spend thousands of dollars on multiple graphics, when you could just have your graphic designer do up, say, 2 designs for the promo and absolutely flood them everywhere. So we're talking like Facebook covers and ads and posters in the windows, mirror talkers, reception countersigns. Like, I could keep going on. But take that one design and flood it everywhere. But the most important part, I suppose, apart from it being profitable, that's number one. The second most important part is to track and measure the results, because if what you're doing and you're doing really well works, do it again. Keep doing it, because if it ain't broken, don't fix it. All you need to do is just change the offer and make sure that's profitable every time.
Interesting. And it's really great how you say there, make sure the promotion is profitable, because something that scares me when I talk to business owners and they say, Tamara, I want to run an event or I want to run a promotion. I say, fantastic. What are our cost prices that we're looking at, going down to, for example? Because if we're doing 20% off, but you've only got a 20% increased margin, then as you said, you're working harder for nothing and giving away free things. So you really do have to know the cost of your wholesale treatment, the cost of your product, what is the markup of the product, so that you're actually getting something back. And so things like add-ons or upgrades or, buy 5, get the 6 on free or something like that is a little more tangible than just discounting for the sake of discounting. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely. And even like I see people discount something below what they've paid for it. So if they're selling a promo that has a retail product in it, they'll sell it for less than what they paid for it. And I think, why?
Bananas.
I mean, create brand awareness for sure. But do you want to be known as the brand that is really cheap and just flogs all their stuff off for, next to nothing to get a quick buck in here and there, when you're not really getting a quick buck in because you've already spent the money on the retail products?
Yes, you're so right there. And so consistent content, like having, as you said, there's so many pieces of collateral that you can have around and marketing materials, make sure that it's all consistent. And if you don't know how to do that, then, get in touch with someone like Sarah, who is a graphic designer, who can create those pieces for you, and then measure the results. And I want to stay on this one, because how do we measure the results of a successful marketing campaign or a promotion? Because, back in the old day, we used to say to our client, bring in this little butt, that we would tear off, and then that's how we would know. However, it's a little bit more difficult nowadays.
Absolutely. Where I would recommend our clients to start is recording every bit of expense and sale associated with the promo. So money is probably the easiest and quickest way to see if something's working or not for you. But then I guess if you really wanted to delve deeper, you could look, if you're looking at a campaign, you could test, to see if the content works on the socials, and that's sussing out their insights and who's looking and what time and age bracket and everything. But to stay on the track of the money, is where I would advise people. So, for example, if you were to record the sales or revenue rather associated with a promotion, That wouldn't just necessarily mean the sales made on the promotion. Like, let's say you have a promotion for $249, but anything that's added on or upsold in association with that is also technically revenue made from the promotion. So did the client rebook? And then can you sell another promotion, perhaps with something like Salon Pay or Afterpay? That's actually all associated with the revenue for the promotion. So that's the true sales figure. And then from there, what I would recommend is subtract the expenses. So we're looking at the retail product, whatever it cost you, the time it took for a therapist to, do the service and any of the materials involved. Also any printing and marketing that's cost you, and then subtract that from your revenue, and that's the profit.
I did once, and I was just thinking then, because I once did an event, it was the nighttime event with a big client, and they took in 16,000 on the night, which is huge for a couple of hours, And at the end of the month, we were looking at their profit and loss, and they were at a loss. And I thought, how in the heck is this possible? You've made your whole monthly wage in one night and you're at a loss. And it was because that income came in so quickly that they forgot about subtracting all of the other investments that they had to make. So paying the staff that night, purchasing more product to stock on the shelves because we sold everything out. Buying another laser machine, for example, because we had booked in so many clients, and it's quite funny that you say that, to measure the results and see if it is actually a success. It's not just about what you've taken in, but it's also about what you've spent on that. And that really is the crux of having a successful business, is getting in more than you're spending.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if you put together that promo from the very start, as I mentioned before, if you actually figure out the time it costs the therapist, or you for the therapist rather, and the wages, figure out exactly what materials are used and what the cost is, and you already know what it costs you when you make that $249 sale. So if you've got a 50% profit on that, great. That's how you know exactly that you're profitable within your offer to begin with.
And I want to go back to the start of our conversation, where you were saying there that building a brand is not just building a logo. What else does it entail? Because sometimes we do just think, oh, they've got a beautiful logo, that must be their brand. Like, what other metrics are we looking at to have a brand?
Oh, gosh. Where do we start with this one? We're looking at everything from, the way you write, the way you speak, the way you interact with people. It goes so much more beyond the visuals. Really knowing who your ideal audience are, and being able to speak to their pain points. So what they really struggle with and what they need. You as the expert in the industry know that, but making it all about the client and speaking in their tone of voice. So that you can meet their aspirations, which are the goals they want to achieve. So it might be, when it's a skin client, what's problematic within the skin. You might say, yeah, well, they have pigmentation, or they have acne that's really bad. If you flip that on its head, the way that you really connect with your audience is in their tone of voice. I have freckles everywhere and they're all discolored and I don't know what to do with them. You already know that, but that's in their tone of voice. So then how to flip that again to meet their aspirations. It's absolutely everything. It's how you present yourself, how your team represent you as well. Back to what you said before, Tamara, about interviewing a potential team member. It's really, do they align with your brand values, because they represent your brand at the end of the day, and you'd actually be really surprised at how quickly they can tear it down as well. It's from every single decision in your business you make, from your bookkeeper to, like you mentioned before, you send out a handwritten card after you finish working with someone. We do that as well. And that's not because, we want to show it off or put it in their face. It's because that's a part of our customer service and how we also connect with our clients. So every single little detail that makes up a brand, even from like the booking system you use in the spa, everything, the smell, the choice of candles you use, like you might use diffusers, all of that encompasses the brand. It's just goes so far beyond your visuals.
And something I frequently say, and people laugh, is that I always say your therapists are your walking billboards.
Yes.
Because they are your free, well, you're paying for them, but, you know, if we can say your advertising, when they've got your uniforms on and they've got, you know, if your, you know, signature look is a red lip or a dark eye or whatever it may be. So it's interesting that you say, you know, in regards to actually having your team speak the language that your brand represents to the clients. Something I think perhaps we don't do enough in the beauty industry is training, but that's a whole nother 50 podcast in its own. But training on brand, and it really comes down to the induction.
Yes.
You know, so if you've got a special name, for example, my very first beauty job, I won't say the name of it, but it was a hard name to say. And I left there and I went into Endota, and Endota said, well, the Endota name is of Aboriginal descent. It means beautiful. And we have the logo is actually a malachite, and the malachite is grounding and healing. And I still know that to this day, and I haven't worked for them for 5 years. But what I don't know is that very first company's name. I don't know the background behind it. I don't know the color scheme. I don't know anything about that brand. So it made it really difficult for me as a therapist to then convey the brand's message to the client. I was just conveying my personal message to the client. Whereas when I'm working for Endota, I'm conveying the Endota message of organic, natural, having that healing and grounding benefits, having, you know, the cultural background of the Aboriginal landscape in the Australian landscape, you know. And I think brands like Endota, and I just use them as an example because I'm sure most people listening to the podcast would know, you know, when you walk past an Endota, you breathe in and you think, oh my gosh, that Endota smell, you know, and that is a part of the brand. It's that really unique signature scent and blend of essential oils that they have. Now, I'm not suggesting everyone goes out and creates essential oil blend to your brand. But it is just those little things that make you remember, you know, and really align with, are you going to make a purchase there or are you not?
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. It's really everything you do making a lasting impression on that audience too. And that's how, and what you associate that smell with Endota. I would probably, I'm the actual same with Kookai. I can never pronounce that.
Yes.
They have this amazing smell when you walk past, and I think, wow, I know it.
I'm going to spend money here today.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Even something, if we're just talking about scents that you can smell from a mile away in the shopping centre, is Peter Alexander.
Yes.
You know, they've always got that, I think it's called Taha, by the Palm Beach candles, you know, and as soon as we're saying this, I'm sure people are smelling and thinking, yes, I know exactly what it is like. And you can already see the colours of the brands we're talking about. You can see the people in the shop. You can see the frontage, you know. That essentially, actually I went to a conference over the weekend and somebody put it perfectly. The brand is not what people are saying in front of you. It's what people say when you leave the room.
Exactly right. Yes.
You know, and that is just so special.
Absolutely. It's powerful beyond words.
And so I'm wondering, you know, when we're creating a brand, and for example, if I came up to you and I was just about to start Beauty Industry and I said, Sarah, let's have a chat about putting a brand together for Beauty Industry, where and how do you start that consultation process?
With our clients, what we do is from the very start, before you started a brand, we would work through that brand. We'd start very much at your brand values and really mapping out who your ideal clients are and what they look like. So putting together that ideal client avatar. If you were already an established brand, we do the same thing, except we would do a brand audit. So what are you loving about it? What's not working? Where are you wanting to head in the next 12 months, 3 years, 5 years, and so on? And the same sort of applies, I guess, for both stages of business, we really try and align this business to your goals. Now, goals, of course, will change, but in the bigger picture of things, for me, when I created my business, I very much wanted to be location independent. I don't think that will ever change. Shouldn't say ever or never, but generally, I don't think that would change. The beauty industry, you're all about connection, and no matter what you do, I don't think that will change. So with that overall big picture in mind, that's where we sort of start, and we work our way through all that nitty-gritty stuff we've discussed. And then once we're really clear on who we are, what we do, who we help, why we're doing it, and where we want to go, do we then translate that into visuals? Because once you have all of that, it really helps you define the colors, the fonts, the the smells, and the sights and the sounds and everything like that.
Yeah, amazing. And I want to just touch base on rebranding here, or why somebody or a business would change their brand. Or, the other day my phone updated and I realized Facebook has a different logo on their app, and I thought, oh, this is really interesting. What are they doing here? How does one just change their logo or go about making such a big drastic change? If they're looking at their spa at the moment and they're seeing lots of oranges and they think, oh, that was cool when I created it 10 years ago, but how am I going to move away from those kind of orange palette colors? How do you do that but yet still retain the trust and the familiarity that your clients have?
That's a very good point. Well, I guess if you looked at something like Coca-Cola, for instance, it's a very, very instantly recognizable brand, but what a lot of people don't know is when it first started out, yes, it had the same similar colors, but over time, I think it's about, don't quote me on this, but I think it's about every 10 to 15 years, they actually do change their logo, but you would never know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because, it's very hard when you have a very well-established brand like that to then instantly change the logo. What happens is people, they lose that instantly recognizable visual, because we all know that, visuals are processed far quicker than anything else. I think it's 10,000 times quicker than words. So they associate that visual with that logo. So it's really a fine line between, retaining what you currently have and staying true to the values and everything like that, and shifting it into something else. So a lot of people come to us with, they might not have changed their logo for 10 years. And like you said, it might be that orange that's not so much in fashion anymore. My advice is always do not go, into creating a new logo and changing your brand to suit a fad, because that will age and you'll have to go through this process a lot quicker, and you lose that trust and that recognition from your audience. So what we just touched on before is, you mentioned, Tara, that it's not what people are saying to your face about your brand, it's what they're talking about behind your back, or things like that, in a good way, what they're speaking of about your brand. And the chances are, if you're changing your logo every 3 years to keep up with the latest trends, they're going to know that, and they're also going to lose track of you because they don't know who you are or where you are anymore.
So maybe something a little bit more subtle, like a color or a font or something like that, not a whole new redesign.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. We primarily, a lot of our clients are in these growth phases where they're already established and they are at this very point. What they do is they're so torn because they love certain elements of their old logo, but they want something fresh and new because the business has grown to, say, industry leader status, or they're getting really big, and they're becoming a really big player, but they don't want to forget where they came from, and also they don't want their clients to forget, or lose them in this process. So it might be a certain element, like, for instance, there's a client that we have at the moment that has a key as part of her logo, and she really wants to hold on to that into the new logo. So it might be as simple as keeping the colors and keeping one element and changing it slightly to be fresh and updated and modern and something a little bit more timeless.
Brilliant. Sarah, can you please point us in the location of all of your social media, website, etc.? Your branding is something I would love our audience to see because it is just stunning. And, you know, what you were saying before about consistency, like for you guys across every single platform, you're really consistent and you might just change the dimensions of a photo or change the wording and the tagging depending on what platform. I would love for them to be able to have a look at that and see what a really strong brand looks like.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. So our website is www.digitalbloom.com.au. Instagram, you can find us at the handle digital_bloom, and the same on Facebook. And I hope it's okay, Tamara.
Yeah.
I'll say that again. I hope it's okay, Tamara. I just wanted to also give everyone who's listening a free copy of our promotional planner so that I can ensure, I want to change the industry, that when everyone's planning a promotion that they offer is profitable. So we don't want anyone to lose any money anymore because that's not why we're in business.
Yes, that's more than okay.
So to get your hands on that, all you have to do is jump on our Instagram page and the link's in the bio and it's all yours.
Excellent. And I'll also grab that link and pop that in our show notes, as well as all of your social media, so that if you're on your phone, you can just click through from the podcast and that will be nice and easy for you. Sarah, thank you so much for joining me on today's episode and sharing all of your tips with us.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been absolutely awesome.
Don't you just love how Sarah puts all the marketing terms and brand words into a language that we can understand? It makes so much sense to me now that we need to be targeting the right type of clients to our business who align with our brand values and to speak the tone of voice when trying to attract them. If you haven't seen already, Sarah has pre-recorded for you all a presentation around perfecting your promotions, which can be found over in our Beauty Industry Facebook community, which you can join for free by requesting to become a member. While you're there, feel free to share the love and follow us on all of the social platforms at Beauty Industry or myself at Tamara Shaw. And if you find yourself with a few spare minutes, click the 5-star rating on this episode and leave us a comment telling us what you loved about it. Until next time, stay connected.